Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning LaLa. And today we are solving health problems from the inside out with Cynthia Thurlow. Thank you so much for being with us today, Cynthia.
Thank you for having me.
We're loving the dress.
We are.
Very on brand.
I figured I needed to be a little more colorful in LA.
Yes.
Love it.
Tell us about your journey.
It's interesting. I've been a healthcare provider for almost 20 years, and I went on vacation with my husband, came back, and 48 hours later was fighting for my life. Ironically, I also had a ruptured appendix, but was so critically sick that they wanted to take my entire colon. They were talking about wearing a colostomy bag, all these things I didn't want to do, and spent 13 days in the hospital. And the whole time I was really focused on getting home to my children, but also delivering a talk that I had committed to doing before I even got sick. And so 27 days after I got out of the hospital, I was able to do that, and it's been impacting lots and lots of people. So I think, spreading this whole concept of surrender, I think we think about it on a physical level, but for me, this whole year has been about surrender on a emotional kind of, physiological kind of, level that I hadn't ever done before.
Right. So you talk a lot about wellness. So how do you define wellness, and what steps do you interview people and have talks and all kinds of stuff. What's your kind of takeaway from all of it?
Well, I think that you have to, the concept of bio-individuality, so finding what works best for you. But wellness to me is having enough energy to interact with the people you care about in your life, getting sufficient sleep, making sure you're giving yourself the best quality food that your budget permits, and also just, finding your way. I think all of us, ideally want to make an impact on the world. We want to have a mission. We want to be able to share and give and provide to others. But that's when I think about, wellness kind of intrinsically.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Great.
It's so interesting. I love the conversation around surrender and wellness, because I think they kind of go hand in hand. Like, you want to take positive, inspired action to do what you can to manage your health, but at the same time, there's incredible power in just surrender to what you can and sort of can't control.
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about that, about the surrender piece around health and wellness, if you would.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes back to just acknowledging, what are your goals? What are the things that you're really focused on? What are the things that you're most committed to doing? And so surrender sometimes can manifest in different ways. And so surrender can be the concept of just saying to yourself, I can't control everything right now, so let's focus on the things I can actually control. Really looking at what it is that's most important for you to be focusing on in your life, and whether that's your family or your occupation or your relationships with loved ones, or the people that you help inspire every day.
Or your diet. I know that the TED Talk was also about intermittent fasting. So how has that helped you?
Yeah, so I think it's like the most pivotal strategy. After years of writing prescriptions, I'm happy to find strategies that don't involve that. But I think just really in figuring out what foods work for you and your body, what are the foods that make you feel good, what are the ones that give you energy, what are the ones that allow you to, for your digestion to function properly, that allow you to sleep well. And so for all of us, it can be very different. But I think with so many inflammatory foods that are out there, it's really important for us to kind of dig a little bit deeply. And so, things like gluten, grains, and dairy and, processed sugars may not work for everyone. And so when you're talking about intermittent fasting, it's, within that feeding window, what are the kinds of foods that you're giving to your body that help nourish it?
So how many hours? Is it 15 hours? Is that what intermittent fasting?
You can do it a variety of different ways, but the most common way is to do a 16-8. So 16 hours fasted with an 8-hour feeding window is what I find most people do really well with.
And within that fasting window, can you have anything?
I'm a purist, yeah. So you want to keep yourself pizza,
8 hours of pizza.
Everyone's are fine, bro.
Yeah, you want to keep yourself really well hydrated. So obviously filtered water, plain coffee or tea are absolutely fine. There are a lot of people that do intermittent fasting a little bit differently. Sometimes they'll do bulletproof coffee and things like that. But I always say that's different. That's fat fasting.
I do it naturally anyway. If it's just me, I stop eating at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I don't eat till, before the shows. It's,
Oh my gosh.
15, 16
That's
hours.
incredible.
That's perfect.
That's like a
Goals
normal.
right there.
Yeah.
To eat on the hour, at the hour. It's terrible. Yeah, but I feel great that way. But so so you've been doing the fasting thing for how long now?
About 4 years.
About 4 years.
Yeah.
And you've noticed incredible changes in the way you feel.
I have, and I like to remind people, kind of the concept of aging in reverse. That irrespective of what age you are, it's provided that you're not too young or too old, you're able to engage in something that's so profoundly proactive, and then it becomes, you're much more mindful about how you feel. Like, what do I really feel like when I'm hungry? I'm not just eating for emotional reasons. I'm not eating because I'm sad or depressed, but really saying, okay, my stomach's growling, but am I really hungry? Is that really what's going on?
Such a good point. I also noticed how often I would eat when I was just thirsty.
Right.
right?
Exactly. And sometimes just drinking water, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not hungry. I'm just dehydrated.
Yeah.
Well, it's working for you. You look amazing. You're
Thank you.
glowing,
Thank
and
you.
know.
We want whatever she's having.
Yeah, right. So, how do people? Do they work with you one-on-one? How do people work with you?
So I do have one-on-one programs. I also have a couple group programs, and so different ways that men and women can work with me. But yeah, Find Your Inner Goddess is the program that we're kind of actively working on right now. But
We love that.
Fantastic.
Find
Thank
your
you.
inner goddess.
yes,
that.
the goddess theme is very,
It's
especially
very,
for women,
yes.
it really, for many people who are kind of like, I've lost her. How do I find her again? How do I go about, locating her? It works really well.
Where is she?
And you don't have to lose her as you age.
Correct.
That's so important.
Correct. And
Right.
I'm getting closer to a bigger birthday. So I always say I'm all about, maximizing the things you can do to do it proactively and, age gracefully.
Yeah.
The goddess is inside.
Yeah. Yes.
Gotta feed her
right.
or fast.
Yeah.
Well,
Depending on the
faster.
moment.
That's
Thank you so much for all your work, and we're glad that you're okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you for
Please
having
tell
me.
everyone where they can find and follow you.
www.cynthiathurlow.com.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Cynthia.
Thank
Stay
you.
tuned. We'll be
Thanks
back
for
with
having
more on
me.
Good Morning La La Land.